a patchwork theme, and it needs to be in blue and white. It's another commission, so I've picked up, I know it's not a baby card, but I've picked up this Anna Griffin baby boy cardstock or paper pack, and I've also got the little matte stack as well. And even though it's a baby's one, as you can see, there's plenty of papers in here, patterns that are not baby related at all, and actually some of them are even like stitchy, which is quite cool. So I've used that for my blue and white, and I've also been using some Hunky Dory cardstock, and I will show you where we've got to so far. The first thing I did was I took this beautiful blue Hunky Dory adorable scoreable cardstock. It's their new cardstock, and I've scored it in half. It's an A4 piece of cardstock, so similar to US letter size, and I folded it with the colour on the inside because I'm essentially going to be covering the outside, and the bit that is going to be left is going to be white, which is what I want because it's a blue and white card, so that's absolutely fine. I then took some Hunky Dory, this little lovely holographic shimmer dot paper, or card rather, and I did a border around one of the mats from the Anna Griffin matte stack that is part of that baby boy range. And then I've taken some more of that dotty paper, then some of the Anna Griffin from the main 12 by 12 cardstock pack, and I've matted that up, but I haven't yet stuck it down because I need to put ribbon and bits and pieces around that, so that's what we've done on there. And again, I was very careful with my dots to make sure, and I was also careful with where I positioned this so that it looked even, because when I first cut this, if you see, this was my first cut, there was like a big gap at the top before you got to the dotty bits, and then the dotty bits right at the bottom, and I don't like that. I wanted it more even. And so that's what we've done there, so we put that to one side. Then I took some white shiny sort of medium weight cardstock paper, and I stamped on the Anna Griffin sewing images. So I've got my sewing reels and my scissors. Now you may well, if you've seen the video already, you may well recognise this. This is the same images that I used on a previous card. Then I took a piece of the scrap, which is this cardstock here, but it's double-sided, so I just took a piece of that again, and then I coloured over it, and then I took some of the Hunky Dory new powder blue pearl diamond sparkles, and it's this one here, and I took some of that and just put that over it. Last time I wrapped thread around and it was a bit of a pain, I didn't like it, so I thought I'd go for a slightly different look. And then just before it's set, I don't know if you can see, there's like little scratch marks. I just pop those in with my tool just to give it some dimension. What my intention is, because if you can, you may not be able to see, I've just slightly coloured the top here in kind of a light tan colour, sort of taupe colour, and then I'm going to cut out, I'm only using one of these reels, this one here, I think, so I'm going to cut that out, just the sewing part, the thread part, and then mount it on top of this to give it some dimension. I took my thimble and I popped it on some of this sparkly dotty paper because I just thought that would give like the effect of the dots in the thimble, so we've done that. Then I've done my scissors on that same white paper, so I've got to cut that out yet. And then lastly, and this one is for the inside, I've done the sewing basket, which I have coloured in just using some pencils, and then this one, which is just on the paper, and I'm just going to possibly cut some of these elements out and again just mount them up, but since it's the inside I may well just use this as it is. Okay, so that's where we are on that. So this is my patchwork pattern that I printed out and changed into the blue theme, and as you can see I've mounted it onto a lovely blue base and then onto the holographic dotty card again, so that we've got that nice kind of symmetry. I did feel when I put that onto the white card base with the white it didn't quite work. It needed, again, some more balance. So what I did was I took that same darker blue cardstock, which is just a very small amount, and I mounted it on the front. It's a lovely pearlescent blue cardstock, which comes from Create and Craft. And then, as you can see, you've just got that little element around. The next job is to create our paper patch. So I'm going to, as I say, I'm going to be using my Cuttlebug for that. So let's get that out and get going. Okay, so I've got these Sizzix, I said they were Nestabilities, but they're not actually, they're Sizzix dies, and the very smallest one is 1 1.25 inch, so that's the one I'm going to be using. So first of all, when we're doing our cutting sandwich, we want our A plate. Pop that down this side. Then we want a C plate. Then we want our cutting die. And we put that cutting side up, and then we'll get our first piece of paper, and I'm going to use some of this that's actually on the front of the card, a bit of sticky tape. I possibly would do some on the other side, but you want some low tap masking tape, and then you can just flip it over like so, and then you want your B plate on top, and that completes your sandwich, and then just pop it through. Okay, so that's cut that out, and then let's just show you, look, beautiful little cut. So now for the size piece of paper that I've got, I need to do about 12 different squares, so I'm going to get cracking on with those, and I will come back to you when they're all done. Okay, so here's all our pieces cut out. So as you can see, there's a whole variety of different patterns and plain paper. I've repeated this one here, but I just twisted it, so you've got a slightly different look. And then we'll just run a little of the glue stick over the mat. So, and then slowly, or not too slowly because we don't want the glue to dry, we will position our little patches. Making sure they butt up against each other nicely. And if there's too much paper, which there will be, then I'll be able to cut that off later, but it's better to... And then I'm just going to take my scissors, and I've got my not the best scissors because it's gluey, and I'm just going to cut this excess, and then we're going to let that completely dry, that glue stick, because the next thing I need to do is I'm going to run this through my sewing machine with a zigzag stitch just across all of these lines. Okay, so I have now done the stitching on the patches, so I just did a zigzag stitch across all the joins. I then mounted it onto the blue card that we did before, and I stitched around all the outside my card layer, and I've already put some trim around, some lace trim, and I've literally just put some glue runner on the back and just stuck that down. It's dipping slightly in the middle, but that doesn't matter. I don't want to stick it down in the middle, which I normally would do, because I am actually going to be putting some glue gel under there for when I do like my flowers and my feather and etc, etc, so we don't need to worry about that now. I've got a piece of American Crafts grosgrain ribbon, and I'm just going to pop that across the top there, so we have that on there as well. What I did forget is I wanted to add a buckle, so I'm just going to grab my buckle. I'm deciding, oops, wrong way, between a roundy one or a squarey one, and I think I want to go for the oval one. Okay, so let's then pull that bit up. So it's a nice simple to do. All you just do is take your ribbon thread it through, once up through one, down through the other, and then we'll worry about position because it's not stuck, so we can worry about where it gets positioned. As and when we need to. Use my trusty old glue gel because we've got some ribbon on the back tucked around, so we want to be sure that, you know, that because it's a slightly different height, very marginally, so we want to be sure that everything's going to stick down properly. Okay, and the other beautiful thing about the glue gel is of course that you do get to position, you know, time to position it where you want, so that is always handy. Just gives you that manoeuvrability to get it absolutely. Okay, so we're going to leave that to set really nicely overnight because I want to be sure when I'm moving around on here that it's not going to bump about anywhere. Okay, I actually decided that I am going to put down my 2 layers, and I just had to fiddle around with that, and I've tucked the corners over because that will give that a chance to set as well prior to me having to add those extra elements. So again, using my glue gel, not for dimension, but for the same reason that it just gives a nice bit of strength to the adhesion. These corners have got glue in them, and then we're going to pop this one down like so. Now we're going to fiddle around with the actual position once we've done the second one reasonably quickly. Just do the next one. And if you've got any patterns that are directional, make sure that it's up the right way at this point. So we'll leave that to set for a bit and we'll come back and put the other little bits on in a minute. Okay, so that's all dried, and as you can see I've just added a little bow or knot into our buckle. Basically all I did was I put another piece of ribbon, I went up through this side here, and then, sorry, I went underneath the ribbon here, and then I went up one side of my buckle and up the other side, and then I tied it in the middle because it was now inside, and then I went back out again at each side underneath the crystals. So I just created a knot in my buckle and then I've slid it along, and I just felt that it needed that extra bit of blue kind of sticking out a bit, and I've just been playing around with working out exactly what goes where, and I found with the layout, and I've come up with this lovely crystals and pearls which I want to stick down on here. So that's the first thing that I need to lay down onto the card. Now these come as all in one piece, but you do need to be careful when pulling them off that you don't pull any pieces that you don't want. And this was actually a big piece, and I've chopped it off because it had like a big flower and everything with it as well, so I've popped all that off now. So you want to kind of just let it flop. Now I know that piece went up here like so. Whoops. Sticking to my fingers. Okay, so that's that bit done. And then just stick it down nicely. We don't worry about the gap there because that's going to get covered up in a minute, so that's going to be fine. So then the next thing that I need to put down is my feather, and I've got one of these beautiful soft feathers, so that's going to go just in here, so you can now see why I wasn't too worried about where that sort of gap was there. Okay, so I need to put some gel glue just underneath here so that we can get that to stick down. So I'm just going to turn this around and I'm going to pop my gel glue. Now I think the first thing I want to do actually is put a little bit of gel glue under my buckle so that stays in place now. And that's also now going to, if I lift it, it's going to hold my trim in place as well. There we go. So we put plenty down because we've got a few bits and pieces that we're going to be poking into that little gap. So now I'm going to turn that around the right way. And I just want to loosen my feathers here so they sit nicely. And then I'm going to just position that like so. I'm going to get a very small amount of glue gel and just put a tiny pop of it just here so that it holds the spine of my feather to stop it twisting like it just was. Now I made a few hat pins myself, and I've got a few spare, but I'm going to be using these too. So just put some beads and used some glossy accents. So I just put the beads on and then I put a tiny bit of glossy accents between the last one and that just holds it in place. So we're going to pop these in next, and since we've already got the glue gel there, I'm going to pop them in like so, but it may be that we need to change the position of those in due course when I put my flowers in place, but at the moment I think that's roughly where I want them. Then I'm putting my flowers down. Like so. I think we're going to position this one first, and I'm going to put him kind of like that so you can still see the ribbon, and then we can work the others around where I've placed that one. There we go. So far so good. Now I want some little gems in the middle of my flowers. I want a smallish one here. Okay. So I think that's coming together really nicely. Pleased with that. Whoops, don't want that there. So the next thing we've got is our actual sewing items. So we've got our scissors, the sewing basket, the thimble, and the thread. Now the sewing basket is for the inside of the card, so we can put that to one side for the moment. Now my scissors I kind of want in there. So I'm just trying to decide whether I want the point over the top or whether I want to prod that inside like I did on my previous card. Yep. Okay, so let's get the glue gel and just put a small amount on the back of these scissors. I'm gonna put some glue gel on the back of my items here. And then with the safety pins, it's quite easy to do really. It's just put a tiny bit of your glue gel on each bit and it just kind of works, except for when you put them on top of each other and you don't mean to. And you can just get enough there to stick it down, but without showing too badly, because there's kind of so much light reflection on the safety pins anyway. Yeah, whew, that was close. There we go. So that's those done. Okay, now it was meant to be a 70th card. Well, it is not meant to be. It is a card for a 70th, and I think there was talk of, you know, the lady wanting a 70 on the front or on the card. Okay, so I'm going to have a play and see about the 70, but just before I do that, I am going to just pop my basket on the inside just here. And then I'm going to stamp my happy birthday as well, but I'm just going to put this one down first. So again, using the old trusty glue gel. We don't really want any dimension in here, so it's going to have a little bit because it's kind of shaped slightly, but okay, so that's that bit done. So now we really need to just let that dry, and I'll work on the 70, and I will stamp happy birthday on the inside as well. Okay, so that's the card finished. I've added the 70 on the outside. I found some lovely puffy thicker stickers, they were called, and then I've added blue happy birthday on the inside, and obviously you already saw the basket. So I hope you've enjoyed watching this card being made, and I hope you like the card. I'd love to hear your comments, and I'll see you all again soon. Thanks for watching. Bye!